No, not really. The game is not really geared towards scares at all. I mean, it's like there are moments where it sort of kind of tries to play that a little bit, but not really. It doesn't really commit to it. It's more just sheer numbers. It's sheer volume. It's the number of zombies in the game. It's the fact that, as time goes on, the zombies just keep getting thicker and thicker and thicker, and there are just so many of them.
Right.
And, at night they get more aggressive, so they're actually a little scarier looking because their eyes start glowing all red, and, they're meaner.
That's messed up.
That's really messed up. But then also there's, there's also these psychopaths and crazy people, and it's kind of hard to really be scared by a game where you're fighting an evil clown that juggles chainsaws. Like that's just not the vibe they're going for. It's more it's absurd, but it's also very campy and crazy and weird.
Crazy. All right. Well, Jordan in New Milford wants to know, how does the frame rate hold out throughout the game with all these zombies on screen?
Very well, very well. The frame rate in the game is, I would say, as far as just holding steady, it's one of the better Xbox 360 games at that, especially with the number of characters on screen at once.
Right.
There are a couple of spots where it tanks, and it's mainly with just really big ass weapons, like when you're just doing a big swipe at a whole bunch of guys. Like that'll kind of make things slow down a little bit. But beyond that, it really holds steady very well. It doesn't. Yeah, I was very impressed by how the technology of that game runs.
Right. Okay, let's take it back to a little more of the gameplay stuff. Arno in Paris wants to know, how does the whole picture system work? Are there any way to save the pictures that you can view them later, or what? Is it just like in the game? Or?
Yeah, it's basically, you have this camera, you're a photojournalist, and, so you're always carrying this camera around with you. And the thing is, the pictures themselves are kind of an incidental part of the game almost, because, you're just, you don't have to do them for the most part. There are a couple spots where it's it really helps out missions or whatever if you use them, but mostly you're just using them to get points to help Frank level up and kind of, just boost his abilities and stuff. And
how does the ability boosting work? What, do you just get more moves or more health?
Yeah, you get more moves, you get more health, you get more inventory slots, that kind of stuff. Basically, he just becomes a lot more powerful. And, as far as, the pictures themselves go, you can take various types. There's, take scenes of horror, scenes of drama, scenes of erotica, which is basically taking pictures of zombies, not wearing a whole lot of clothing. There are female zombies wandering around in, fishnets and stuff.
Very erotic.
Very erotic. Yeah, no, that's actually really gross. But, because zombie erotica is not something I'm too into, personally. I don't know about you.
I get into it, man. Adam in Sweden wants to know, how interesting is the main character? What's the deal with Frank?
The deal with Frank, I've actually read a lot of people saying they hate Frank, and just, based on what they've seen in the trailers and stuff and whatever. And you know what? Frank's actually kind of a likable guy.
Cool.
He's kind of you get the feeling he's kind of a dimwit, doesn't really think too far ahead about these things. It's okay, you're flying in via helicopter, you see a bunch of people eating other people on the streets. Why do you want to hang out in this town for 3 days? What person is right in the head?
Sounds like a party.
Like that. Maybe it's a party, I don't know. But, so, basically, he's a little dumb, he kind of rushes into things, but he's also, he's a fairly standard hero. He's not irritating, he's fine. He's actually, the voice actor who plays him is pretty good. Mm-hmm. He gets the character across pretty well, it makes him somewhat endearing at least. So, yeah, I like Frank. I think Frank's cool.
Cool. All right. Jean in Quebec wants to know, how painful are the loading screens? Is there a lot of loading, or the area is large with no loading?
The loading only really comes into play when you enter a different section of the mall. And there's several sections of the mall that you go into. They're broken up into different plazas, and there's the big park in the middle and that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
And when you walk from one plaza to another, there's about, I don't know, for me it was maybe 10 seconds. 12 seconds at most for most of those. And the thing is, you don't need to travel between plazas a ton in a row. Usually when you go to a plaza, you stay there for a while and do stuff, and then you don't go back until the next mission or the next section of that mission. And you know, it's real intermittent. It's not very long. I never really ran into any hugely long load times, and you know, it just wasn't even a factor for me.
Okay. Kevin Bolton in Dublin, that's Ireland, asks,
yes.
Does the mall environment become boring or repetitive after a while? It's a mall full of zombies, right?
Yeah, it's a mall full of zombies. You know what? I love the mall. I think the mall was like the greatest setting they could have possibly come up with. And the thing about the mall is that it's just pristine looking. You know, it's the way a mall is supposed to be. It's totally bland and just like bright colors, cheesy theme restaurants, and you know, just all like, you know, it's done to just try and make people happy. So it's just like this great contrast that, you know, there is horrible zombie death going on all around this really happy place. Mm-hmm. Like the only thing that would have been better is if they'd done like a theme park ripoff, like a Disney World kind of thing. That would have also been really great. But no, I think the mall is great. I never got bored by it. So
cool. Nate Foster wants to know, what's your favorite weapon to use in the game? We talked about the strangest weapon, but you know what?
I'm very partial to the bladed weapons, and I'm specifically very partial to the chainsaws, which you may have seen on screen there just a second ago. You know, like there's a couple of different types of chainsaws. There's one that like straight up you don't even have to like swipe at anyone. You just run around with the chainsaw in front of you and you can do damage, or you can do big clunky swipes where you're just swinging everywhere and you might actually accidentally kill people that are good in your path. And then, yeah, like, you know, and there's also like some smaller ones that are, you know, do more damage, are easier to hold and that kind of stuff.
Cool.
I love the chainsaws.
Cool. All right. Last couple of questions here. Sebastian in Denmark wants to know, how are the boss battles? I mean, how do you encounter a lot of bosses in this game, or are there just a few? Are they memorable?
It's interesting because like the definition of boss battle is not real clear in this game. Like there's a lot of battles against these characters called psychopaths, and some of them are, you know, real not tough. Like there's just a guy, like for instance, there's a guy that, you know, controls a gun store in the game. You know, it's like this redneck hick who's sort of taken it over, and all he does is just kind of wander back and forth, and you just shoot at him. But then there's also like much more involved fights against, you know, characters like, you know, this insane clown that, you know, juggles chainsaws and is gone crazy because, you know, nobody laughs at him anymore because all the zombies came and scared all the people away. And, you know, it's really...
That's frightening.
Yeah, it's really bizarre stuff. But, yeah, I mean, like, the more involved boss fights are awesome. The less involved ones, you know, they are what they are. There's nothing to say good or bad about them. They're just kind of there, so...
Cool. All right, Erez in Israel wants to know, like, can you speak more about the variety of the missions in the game? I mean, are you escorting survivors? Are you going out and like kill 20 zombies? Or, you know, what's the
There is none of the, well, there's really none of the, yeah, there's none of the like go kill 20 zombies stuff. You know, it's like there are collection missions where you have to go get stuff. Like there are a few fetch quests in the game. But as far as like, you know, the mission variety, it's like most of the side missions are rescue missions. They're escort missions where you have to go save people from getting, you know, eaten horribly by zombies. And those, you know, those make up the bulk of the side missions. There are a few story missions that are that way too. There's a fair amount of boss fights against the psychopaths and, you know, some other sort of integral characters in the story that, you know, involve shooting and stabbing and all that kind of fun stuff against people that aren't zombies. And, you know, that's the bulk of it. There are a few other little varieties of missions here and there that, you know, are kind of cool, but, you know, for the most part, that's basically the variety of it.
Cool. Marcelo in Stamford, Connecticut, wants to know, how do you save all 50? Like, where do you bring these survivors? Is there like a safe spot in the mall?
There is a security office near the roof of the mall that, like, you sort of go to right at the beginning of the game, and then, you know, it's sort of like people sort of start to congregate there, and they weld the door shut, and basically you go in and out through the air ducts to the roof that kind of takes you into this warehouse area that you can kind of get through. So, but there are also like random shortcuts through the game, you know, little areas that you can get to. But yeah, mainly the safe house is just this security room, janitor's room kind of area up near the roof. And there's like rooms where you can basically store your survivors.
Cool. All right. Last question here from Mike in Kissimmee, St. Cloud, Florida. Wants to know, are the weapons infinite? Do they eventually break, run out of gas? Once you have a weapon, do you just have it forever?
They eventually break. I mean, there are ways to increase the amount of time you can keep the weapons. Like there are skill books you can pick up at the various bookstores and areas of the game that let you like hold on to, you know, like bladed weapons 3 times longer and that kind of stuff. But they do all eventually break. They're not forever weapons, and it's like, especially like a lot of the bigger weapons actually get broken easier, it seems, like at least early on. So, you'll tend to find yourself using the smaller stuff like baseball bats and, free weights in this case, where you're just busting zombie heads open with that. Oh, that's gross. But yeah, so
Jesus.
Yeah, I know, it's kind of brutal, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. So, in short, it sounds like you're recommending this game.
I would, in fact, recommend Dead Rising, specifically to the zombie connoisseur. Mm-hmm. Those who are a little more highfalutin in their zombie tastes. Those who would prefer a zombie game that just lets them do the finer things in zombie killing. Because it is full of that. It is a delight.
All right, Alex.
Yes.
Thanks a lot.
I had trouble saying that with a straight face.
Yeah, all right. Well, that will do it for our live review of Dead Rising. Thanks to all of you out there for submitting your questions, and we'll see you again on the Spot this Thursday.